very good morning to all my dear students. Students, today in this tutorial, we are starting a new chapter. Chapter number 20, the Indian Constitution. Before starting the chapter, I would like to ask you one question. Can we play the game without rules? No. We cannot play the game without rules. Rules are there in the games, yes, and every participant follow the rules and then becomes the winner in the game. In the same way, you know that India is a diverse country, and in order to run such a diverse country, we need some rules, we need some regulations, so that people should follow those rules and regulations and live in the country. For that, government is there. Government runs the country according to the rules and regulations. That rules and regulations are meant for the government also and for the citizens also. That rules and laws are in a written form and it is included in the Constitution of our India. So let's focus here. First, the Constitution is a fundamental law of our nation. Whatever the laws are prescribed in the Constitution, according to that only the country runs. A written document defines the powers and functions of the government as well as rights and duties of the citizens. So, this written constitution not only includes the rules for the government, but it also includes the rights and duties of the citizens. Third, Indian Constitution is unique. Can you tell me why Indian Constitution is unique? Because it is the longest written constitution. Longest written constitution. The credit of drafting the constitution is given to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Though there are many members in framing the constitution which we are going to study, but the main member for drafting the constitution is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as he was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. So these are some features of the constitution. So what is a constitution? A constitution is a written document which defines the rules for the government as well as the rights and duties for the citizens. So now we will study furthermore about the framing of our constitution. Now students, we will study the next topic, the framing of our constitution. An assembly of elected representatives framed the constitution of our country. So who framed? The elected representatives. In July 1946, elections of the Constituent Assembly were held, and in this election 389 members were selected. Now what is a Constituent Assembly? Constituent Assembly comprises the representatives from different political parties, from different communities and from different regions of India. That is the meaning of the term Constituent Assembly. And in this election 389 members got elected, which framed the Constitution of India. The majority members in this Constituent Assembly is from Indian National Congress, and some other persons, some distinguished persons were also included in the assembly. Means they were not elected representatives, but they were the distinguished persons in their fields. So they were also included in framing the Constitution of India. The assembly had the distinction of having many important political leaders. So now, who were the distinguished members? It includes the the freedom fighters of India. Like for example, who fought for the freedom of the country for many years. Now the persons in the Indian National Congress at that time were Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and Maulana Azad were some distinguished leaders of the Indian National Congress. Now other persons like Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Sardar Baldev Singh, Frank Anthony and Dr. H.P. Modi were also associated with the framing of our constitution. The Indian Frank Anthony and Dr. H.P. Modi represented the Anglo-Indians. So Frank Anthony and Dr. H.P. Modi, they were the Anglo-Indians. Who are the Anglo-Indians? Anglo-Indians are those either their mother or their father. They belong to the European side. Yes, either father is there, means from outside country, outside India means European, or mother. It is generally believed that when our India got independence, then the Britishers, they flew away from here. Most of the Britishers, they left behind, and then they get married either to a Indian girl or either to a Indian boy. So that persons are known as Anglo-Indians, and their upcoming generations, they are known as Anglo-Indians, because one is European, either father or mother, and one person is Indian. So they are known as Anglo-Indians. So Anglo-Indians means relating to both Britain and India. Their upcoming generations were known as Anglo-Indians. So Anglo-Indians were also included in framing the Constitution of India. Other constitutional experts like Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and K.M. Munshi were also the members of the Constituent Assembly. The names of Mrs. Sarojini Naidu and Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit deserve special mention. The Constituent Assembly was a representative of the cross sections of the Indian people. Indian people were there, but from different sections of the society. So, like this, 389 members are there who framed the Constitution of our India. And the most eminent person among them was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, because he was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. Now students, we will study why we need laws. What is the purpose? Laws are needed for the welfare and security of the people. They bring about social change and establish an egalitarian society. So for our safety, for the safety of our property, laws are needed for the welfare and security of the people, for protecting our rights, for protecting our liberty, for protecting our property, like this. And to establish an egalitarian society. What is egalitarian society? That everyone should have the equal rights, whether you are rich or whether you are poor or belong to any section of the society. The rights are equal for all the people. The need for laws becomes even more important in a traditionally unequal society like India. in earlier times, the society of India was unequal. As we have studied, in the ancient times, caste system was there, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and they were treated according to their castes. So the society was very unequal, and in order to have egalitarian society, laws are very important for India, because many social evils also prevailed in India, like female foeticide, dowry, alcoholism. So that is why there was a need for laws for ruling such a diverse country like India. Now, the social evil which we are going to study is dowry. Dowry, which you know that it is given by a bride family to grooms. And today also dowry system is prevailing, and many women, they are getting tortured, yes, mentally as well as physically also. Mental torture or physical torture which may lead to death. So dowry is a money or gift given to the groom by the bride's family at the time of marriage. And sometimes the dowry demands are not fulfilled, then what happens, which results in physical or mental torture of the bride, and in some cases it leads to death. Now we will study, in order to remove these social evils, many acts have been passed to eradicate these social evils from the society. Like in earlier times, Sati Pratha was there, which was removed by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. In earlier times, no widow remarriages were there, but acts were passed to improve the status of women in society. So these laws, these acts are very important for all the sections of the society for maintaining an egalitarian society. Now students, we will study what are the steps taken for improvement for this unequal society. Students, one act was passed in the year 1961, which was a Dowry Prohibition Act, but it could not be implemented effectively, and again it was amended in the year 1986. The law said that if a person is found guilty, he can get imprisonment for not less than 5 years in the case of a dowry. If there is a mental or physical torture of the women, then that person will get the imprisonment for not less than 5 years and be fined up to 15,000 rupees or the amount of the value of such dowry, whichever is more. So this was act which was known as Dowry Prohibition Act. In order to draw the people's attention to this problem, sincere efforts were being made. Print and electronic media greatly contributed in spreading the consciousness or awareness among the people. Media, news media, yes, mass communication plays a very important role in spreading the awareness among the people. Dharnas, processions, strikes, public meetings, street plays are being set up and conducted by voluntary agencies. So, why these are done? So that people should become aware about the social evils which are prevailing in the society. Now we will study about legitimacy of the laws. Legitimacy of the laws. During the dynastic and local chieftains' rule, dynastic here means when hereditary rulers were there, and when the rules of local chieftains, any commenced rule was treated as a law. Whatever rule they declared, it is treated as a law, and their subjects, they have to follow that rule. But such laws were not based on free will of the people, means they were forced on the people. Rather, these laws were based on coercion and compulsion. Coercion, you know, that is that they are forced on the people that you have to obey this law. When democracy got introduced, the people began to elect their own representative and the law became for the people. You know that we are having a democratic form of government in which we elect our representatives by our own through the process of elections. So then when democracy was introduced, the laws, people, they elect their representatives and the laws became for the people. But even the democratic setup has some flaws. Certain laws are passed without taking the consent of all the sections of the people. But it is generally said that when the democratic setup was there, then the laws which were passed, that laws were having some mistakes were there. Flaws means some mistakes are there, and it is not included means without taking the consent of all the sections of the people, means the laws which are made, it is not according to all the sections of the people, means their advice is not taken of each and every person. The ruling party of front passes these laws in order to score political mileages. So the ruling party who got the majority, they pass these laws so that they can have a political stability in the country. In order to checkmate these possible menaces, the constitution steps in. So in order to check this type of dangerous laws, the constitution was made. The powers are vested with judiciary to declare such laws invalid. The Supreme Court of India acts as the custodian of the Constitution of India. So now, in order to check whether the laws are proper or not, the credit means it was given to the Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court of India is the highest court of India, and the Supreme Court is the custodian of the Constitution of India. That it means that whatever the laws are framed in the Constitution, it should be proper, and the citizens should also follow that rules in a proper way. It should not harm the citizens of the country. The laws aims at the people's welfare. Whatever the laws which are framed in the Constitution, it is for the welfare of the people. But if there are good laws, there are bad laws also. People oppose all such bad laws. Thus, there is always a spirit of dissent in case of bad laws, along with the spirit of acceptance and obedience in case of good laws. But it is generally seen that if good laws are there, people, they accept it, and they they follow that good laws. But if the laws are bad, then there is always a spirit of dissent in that. Dissent here means that disagreement is there, that people, they don't like to follow that rules. The people would dissent often at the risk of their life, even under the cruel imperialist British. So the laws which were made during the time of British also in India, the people were against that laws also. We had the people with immense patriotic sense who had too long opposed every illegal law passed by the British government. So we the people, yes, whatever the laws which were passed when the British government was there in India, and if the laws are illegal, then the people, they oppose those laws. When there was a deliberate attempt on the part of the British to put restrictions on vernacular press by passing the Vernacular Press Act in 1878, they ferociously opposed the move. In the year 1878, one act was passed which is known as Vernacular Press Act, and according to this act, what was there? It was passed by Lord Lytton, who was the Governor General at that time, to prevent suppress of Indian languages of from expressing criticism against the British government. Means they don't want that Indian people, that newspapers, whatever the newspapers which are coming in the Indian languages, they should not express the any type of criticism against the British government. So that is why this Vernacular Press Act was passed to stop the Indian to prevent the press of Indian languages from expressing criticism against the British government. People came in unity and opposed the move at the time of the partition of Bengal in 1905. Yes, earlier people, they were against this Vernacular Press Act. Yes, because it was against the Indian press. And now the people, they were against the partition of Bengal also, which was made in the year 1905. Actually, this partition was done for the convenience of administration in Bengal, because Bengal in those days was the biggest province of India with a population of 18 million. So in order to have a proper and effective administration, the Bengal was divided into Eastern Bengal and Western Bengal. But here two motives were there. What are the motives? To weaken Bengal, because Bengal was the richest province. Yes, and to weak the center of Indian nationalism. Bengal was the center of Indian nationalism, and divide the Muslim and Hindus on the basis of religion. It was a center of Indian nationalism because Hindus and Muslims, they are united. They were against the Britishers, to weak the spirit of Indian nationalism, so that Hindus and Muslims should not unite together. There was a partition of Bengal, but this also opposed by the people, and the partition of Bengal was not done. So students, today we have studied about the framing of our constitution, the acts which were passed to stop the social evils, the acts which were passed by the Britishers. They were also against the Indians, but Indians at that time also were ready to oppose the illegal laws which were passed by the British government. So if good laws are there, we should accept it, we should be obedient and follow that laws properly. But if the laws are bad, it is against us, then we should raise our voice too. So now, in the next tutorial, we are going to study about the Sal Satyagraha of Gandhiji and other different types of acts which were passed to maintain the egalitarian society in India. So, till then, read the chapter very properly. Meet you in the next tutorial. Till then, have a good day.